Hello, everyone, and welcome to Schwab Coaching. My name is Cameron May. I'm a senior manager and education coach here at Schwab, and this is Getting Started with Thinkorswim. And if you're brand new to the Thinkorswim desktop and you just want to know how to set up charts for the very first time, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to be going through sort of a beginner's guide to setting up charts on Thinkorswim desktop for the very first time. We're going to start at kind of a basic level, just go through some of the basic functionalities of getting charts set up. Then we're going to go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper again to ultimately where we're all set up, not just with one chart, but we also have the option to set up multiple charts on a single screen or even have multiple charts working on different monitors. So it should be a great discussion. Before we get to any of all that fun stuff, though, let me first of all say hello to everybody out there in YouTube joining the live stream right now. Great to see Speak Truth and Ryan, Sharon, Eva, Jose, Robert, everybody else. Thanks for joining us week after week. We really do appreciate your attendance and your contributions in these discussions. If you're here for the very first time, I want to welcome you as well. And if you're watching on the YouTube archive after the fact, enjoy the presentation, but be aware that you're invited to join us in the live show. This is a currently Monday webcast series, but this is the last one on Monday. So make a note. The calendars are changing for 2025. This one is moving to Wednesdays, 2 o'clock Eastern time. So if you'd like to join us in the live streams, you can find me there. I also want to let you know that my very good friend Kevin Horner is joining us in the chats. Kevin's a fabulous presenter himself, brings a wealth of knowledge to this topic. So thanks for having my back, Kevin. Kevin's just going to be answering any questions that I can't get to during the natural flow of the presentation. You can also follow Kevin and me on X. You can find us there at Kevin Horner CS. You can find me on X at Cameron May CS. And I think it's the best place to connect with your favorite presenters in between the live streams. So love to see you there as followers. But let's get into this. And as we do, of course, we first have to consider the risks associated with trading and investing. So bear these important disclosures in mind. The information here is for general informational purposes only and should not be considered an individualized recommendation or endorsement of any particular security, chart pattern, or investment strategy. Schwab does not recommend the use of technical analysis as a sole means of investment research, and investing involves risks, including the loss of principal. All right. So with that important step accomplished, let's go to the Thinkorswim desktop platform. But as I do that, I want to acknowledge that some that watch this video, this webcast on YouTube after we're finished recording it here, are going to be brand new to the platform. Maybe they haven't even downloaded it yet. So just so you know, if you're a Schwab client, you can download Thinkorswim for no cost. You can just log into your online account, go right up to the Trade tab, and click on the Thinkorswim desktop link in the drop-down menu. And you really can't miss it from there. As you scroll down, you'll see Learn How to Enable Thinkorswim. That'll walk you right through the steps to download the software. And it's going to create an icon on your computer's desktop. It's going to add Thinkorswim to your Start menu. So you just launch there. Now, as you go to log into Thinkorswim for the very first time, it's going to prompt you for a username and a password. You just use your Schwab username and password. Okay, so that brings us to the platform. So this is the Thinkorswim desktop platform. We're in the simulated or paper money trading environment, but setup of charts functions pretty much exactly the same on the live platform. But right now we find ourselves on the monitor page or the monitor tab on Thinkorswim desktop, and I want to spend some time on the charts. So let's navigate over here to the charts, click on that, and let's enter an example symbol. So when you're setting up your charts, first thing to do, load up a symbol. If you don't know the symbol, you can just start typing in the name of the company, like Apple, and it'll propose a menu of potential stocks. You just select the one that you intend or just type in the symbol directly. And we find ourselves here just on sort of a basic chart. Now, when you first log in, your chart might not look exactly like the charts that you're seeing, maybe among your favorite presenters that you're watching on Schwab. For example, some of you, Ryan says, how do you get the simulated environment? When you first log in, Ryan, down at the bottom of the login screen, it'll ask you, do you want to do paper money or live trading? So you just switch it over to paper money, same username and password, and you're in that simulated environment. Okay. But yeah, there's going to be some differences even among the presenters that you watch. Some of them, it'll look like they're very different platforms. That's because some of us use sort of a light background. Some of us use a dark background. And to change, regardless of your preference for background type, to make that change, that's one of the settings right up here in the general Thinkorswim settings. Anytime we see a gear icon on the platform, means there's some customizations that can be made here. So I'm going to click on the little gear icon here and change the application settings for the entire platform. And we're going to go to the look and feel. And you'll notice here, the color scheme for mine is set to light. I'm going to change this to dark. And as we make changes on Thinkorswim, I know it's natural to start looking for, now, how do I save the changes? Where's the save button? Well, most functions on Thinkorswim don't require a save button. They're just automatically preserved the way you set it up. And then it just goes back to that the next time you log into the platform. Okay. So I'm going to change this to dark. And this gives me a preview of what the platform is going to look like if I do ultimately elect to go ahead with this change. And I could then apply settings. So notice, looks very different now. Is it different? No, just color scheming. I'm going to go back to my preferences, application settings, get some repetition with this change. Let's change it back to light and click apply setting. But that's the first change that we can make. And you'll notice as I go through this, I'm going to try to do this in easy to follow steps at just about a pace that anybody can follow. So next up, let's go through some basic settings just to the charts themselves. And as you're looking at my chart here, you'll notice that I have what are called candles, day by day little breakdowns of price. For a trader, these individual candles can provide some potentially important insight into that day's activity, or into the hour if we're looking at an hourly chart, and so on. But it's not every trader wants to use candle charts. So if your preference is to use some other type of chart, or if you're already looking at that type of chart and you want to switch it to candle, that's done up here under the style button. You'll notice right now it shows 2 candles there. That's a pretty good indication of the change that we're going to make. So I'm going to switch this style just as an example. Let's go down to chart type, which is set currently to candle. And another popular chart type is a line chart. So if I make that change, we're now looking at a line chart. If I want to switch that back to a candle chart, that's how that change is made. So the setup, so we're starting to get it all laid out just like maybe you want it, or maybe you've seen it displayed on someone else's screen. You'll also notice sometimes our instructors have extra space out here to the right. Right now, our candles are going right up to that right margin with no extra space. So if we were to draw, for example, a line with the intention of trying to determine where a price ceiling is and where it may be in the future, well, we can't see the future on this chart, and obviously we can't project the future in any case. But right now, what I'd like to do is create some extra space off here to the right. So I'm going to go down here to the little double-headed arrows icon down at the bottom. These are known as our right expansion settings. I want to expand the right. That makes sense. So I'm going to click on the double-headed arrows and change those right expansion settings. And right now it's set to show 0 extra spaces off to the right, each space representing a day, in this case on a daily chart. How about we just add 10? Then click apply. So this is going to add 10 days worth of space to the right of this 1-year chart. So as I click apply, you'll notice there's that space now. And you can see there's the time horizon separating 2024 from 2025 as of the recording of this video. So I'm going to click OK now. And once again, we've taken a step toward getting this all set up, maybe just the way the trader prefers. Now, there are going to be times when a trader is looking at a 1-year chart and they think, ooh, I want to get a closer look at what happened maybe in summer, spring, maybe October or whatever. Maybe they want to zoom in on a specific time frame. The way to do that on Thinkorswim is just a click and drag. It doesn't even matter. Click, drag left, click, drag right. It doesn't matter. But let's say I wanted a closer look. I don't know. Let's just look at mid-September into late November here, this period where it was kind of going sideways. I'm just going to click just wherever and drag, and you'll see that it's highlighting that time frame, giving it a little bit of a darker field. And when I release that click, it's going to zoom in on just that time frame. So sort of look at the way that thing's arranged so you'll still recognize it as it gets bigger, because it's about to get bigger. I'm going to release that click. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Now we've zoomed in, and we're just looking at that time frame. And if we go down to the bottom of this screen now, we can actually use a scroll bar to move back in time, just keeping a static time frame, but moving back in time and forward in time. So now we're just looking at a zoomed in period of about 2 months, maybe 3 months. And then if I want to move forward, I can drag that off to the right. Anyway, once I'm done examining this at a little bit closer level, I can zoom out using the little magnifying glasses down in the lower right, or we can also just double click on the chart. That would zoom right out again. So let's zoom back out. There we go. You'll notice it sort of stair steps out, zoomed out again. So that's nice if we want to zoom in along a horizontal time plane. Well, what if we want to see more price levels? You know, it looks like our price on Apple reaching pretty close up to the top of the chart. And for a number of reasons, sometimes chartists just like to see more space up here. Maybe in a downward trending stock, they like to see more space down at the bottom. Well, to do that, we can come over to the y-axis, the price axis over here where it says 250, 240, 230 for Apple. I can just click anywhere there and just start to drag it up and down. And that expands and contracts the chart on the vertical plane. And so now I can have extra space up here. For example, if I wanted to draw a line that goes up further than the chart could previously reach. And once I'm done with those sorts of changes, to set it back, you'll notice this little squiggly line with double-headed arrows here. That's my price axis settings. So I can click on that and just set it to automatically revert back. Lots of nifty little functions for setting up the charts just the way the trader prefers them. But now let's get into some additional chart settings. And with each of these, as we make these changes in the chart settings, these are going to be essentially permanent changes until we opt to change them back. Okay. But chart settings, it's kind of like if we're making changes to the overall platform, we change from dark to light. That's preserved. If we log out, we log back in again next time, it's still going to be a light background. Similarly, we can make changes to just the charts using the gear icon here for our chart settings. And these will be preserved if we log out and we log back in later. Once we've applied them to the chart, and there's no additional need to save those setups. So let's start with, how about we do something called, kind of a mouthful, the corporate actions. For some traders, they prefer to see the little icons displayed on the chart that give us an indication that there has been or is soon to be like an earnings announcement, a stock split, a dividend that's about to be paid. Little icons can appear on the charts to let you know that those events are coming up. And those happen to equities. Equities is kind of a term generally interchangeable with stocks. So I'm going to go to equities, and I'm going to check the box that says show corporate actions. A corporate action is any action that a corporation can take that might affect its share value, such as a dividend, a stock split, so on. Alan says, if you're I'm a Schwab client, if I download Thinkorswim, will I automatically be taken to Thinkorswim the next time I log in? Nope. Once we close out of Thinkorswim, what we do is just go click on the Thinkorswim icon on our desktop, and it will allow us to log in again, or select it from our computer's start menu. Okay. But yeah, generally at the end of each session of using the Thinkorswim trading software, for security reasons and otherwise, the trader probably wants to just click the X in the upper right-hand corner and close out of the platform. So a very good question. Thanks for asking it. Okay, so let's select this Show Corporate Actions, click Apply, and as I do that, you're going to see these icons just appeared on the chart. This one indicates that there was an earnings announcement. This one, the dollar sign, shows us that there was a dividend paid there in February of 24 cents. Oh, and let's see. Eva says, "Oh yeah, yeah. If you if you're getting a new computer and you wanted to add Thinkorswim to the new computer, yeah, you just download it from your Schwab Online account, just like I demonstrated at the launch of this webcast." Okay, so let's click OK, and you'll notice now here are those icons that for some traders are useful to see what they might partly explain what's happening on price, and as they approach in the future, if there were one of these events scheduled on the calendar, let's say just closing out 2024 or in the early days of 2025, we'd also see these icons indicating that that was coming up around the bend. Right, so that's one customization that can be made to your Thinkorswim chart settings. A second that's quite common is some traders like to see the volume, trading volume. Right now, we're not seeing volume displayed for Apple. Well, we just go back up here. That's also an equities function. We can show what's called the volume subgraph. It's a fancy way of saying, show me the volume below the price graph. So I'll click apply, and there we go. We're seeing the volume down below already. Click OK. And those changes that we've now made, if I go to a different chart, if I close down Thinkorswim, relaunch it, those corporate events are still going to be displayed, and the volume subgraph is still going to be on the charts. No need to save it before you close out of the platform or anything like that. Now, a lot of users of charts like to use individual, what we call technical indicators or technical studies, and Thinkorswim has a robust library of all kinds of studies that can be accessed. And those can be found, there are a number of different ways to navigate to them, but one quick way to add a study to the chart is to come up here where it says Edit Studies. So let's go up to our Edit Studies icon, click on that, and that brings up this menu in alphabetical order of potential studies. Now we can scroll down through these in alphabetical order to find the ones that the trader might be interested in, or we might just type in the indicator that we're interested in. So possibly, at least in my experience, the most commonly used indicator is known as a simple moving average. Now, I don't have specific data to back up the fact that this is the most common, but in my experience, it's the one that I've seen among most traders most commonly used on a chart. So let's use that as our example indicator. Now, notice instead of scrolling down to the S's to find it in the menu, you can also just do a keyword search right up here. And as soon as we start to type in the first few letters, it will start to narrow down the list of potential candidates until we find the one that we're interested in. So let's select simple moving average. Let's add that. As we click add selected, you can see that's being prepared to be added to our price chart. And then we just click apply and click OK, and our study is now on the chart. So by default, what I've wound up with here is a 9-period, what's known as a simple moving average. For traders who use it, it might act as potential areas of support and resistance, or price floors and price ceilings. It might be an indication of trend, but that's just one technical indicator. And I just wanted to show how those can be added to a chart. I also think I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about how to make drawings on the chart. Traders very commonly identify their own price floors and price ceilings. Maybe they like to make text notes for themselves. Maybe they like to draw ovals or rectangles around important areas of price activity. But the drawings can be added in a couple of different ways on Thinkorswim. A quick way to access our available drawing tools is to come right down here to the lower right and click on the little icon here. And that icon is going to change. So if it's on your screen, if it's not a / line like you're seeing on my screen, it's just because you currently have a different tool that's been activated. But whatever, I'm going to click on this little icon down in the lower right, my active tool icon, and it gives me this menu of potential drawing tools. So I could use this one for drawing text, for making text notes. I could use this one for drawing ovals, this one for drawing rectangles. There are all sorts of Fibonacci tools. Let's just do a line. So I'm going to select that trend line tool again. So my icon didn't change. I'm still using the same tool, but I did want to show you where the menu of available tools can be found. But in any case, once we've selected a tool, for almost all of them, the way to draw is to click wherever we want to start the drawing, and then to click again wherever we want to end the drawing. So let's say that our hypothetical trader here has noticed, oh, there used to be a price ceiling on Apple right about that 235 level. So I want to draw a line right there. Let's click right here to start my line, and then go over to where I want to end my line and click again. And it's not this, in this case, it's not a click and drag. You've already seen demonstrated. If we do a click and a drag, that creates that darker field that zooms in. We're not trying to zoom in here. Instead, it's a click and a release to start a drawing, and then a click and a release to end that drawing. And that leaves me with this nice line. Now, beyond this, we can actually customize these tools. So By default, for example, this line that I've drawn, it's kind of a thin black line. Maybe that's serviceable for our trader. Maybe they don't have the best vision like me. I'm in my 50s now. My eyes are starting to struggle a little bit. So let's say I just want a little bit more distinctive appearance to the line that I've drawn. Well, anytime we've drawn any sort of a drawing, we can just right-click on that drawing and edit its properties. Let me choose Edit Properties. And in this case, how about we change this from a black line to a blue line? How about we change that from a solid line to a dashed line? And finally, what if we change this from a width of 1 out of 5 to a 5 out of 5 in width? So it's going to be a thicker line. And the last thing I'm going to do here is let's save this as my default. If I click Save as Default, that means every line that I draw from here forward, today, tomorrow, and henceforth until I make another change, they're going to look like this: blue, dashed, and thicker. So let me click OK. And you can see I now have this blue thick line. And if I draw a subsequent line, remember, click once and then click again, that's also a thicker blue line. Now, I do want to emphasize, these are the things that I might consider to be sort of basic navigation and chart setup techniques for first-time users. And I want to take a little bit of time and go a little bit deeper into some of the other functions. As I do that, I want to emphasize again that what we've done here doesn't require a save function. Everything is just saved automatically. Even the lines. If I were to leave Apple and go over to some other stock, go look at a chart of Ford, and then close down my Thinkorswim, and then a month later I come back and I type in Apple, these lines would still be here. All right. So these functions that we've discussed so far automatically saved. But also, as we get a little bit more advanced, I don't want people to feel like I'm adding pressure that every one of these functions need to be used by every single observer of this video. No, please feel free to watch the functions that I demonstrate and select, focus on the ones that are just important to you. All right, so now let's get a little bit more intermediate with our chart setup. For example, maybe we want to change our time frame. Well, to change a time frame on a chart, right now I'm using a daily chart. Let's do something simple, maybe, or just easier. Maybe I want to change my time frame from a 1-year daily chart. By the way, the little D here just stands for day. That letter will change as we change to different charts. Let's say I wanted to change to a 3-year weekly chart. So I just click on the little D. Here in the list of favorites, I could just select 3-year weekly, and now I'm on a weekly chart. Or I could go back up there where it says WK now, indicating that it's a weekly chart. I can even do sort of custom time frame. Let's go to the time frame sub menu, and I can do intraday charts, daily charts, or just flat out custom. Let's go to intraday, and let's say we're going to do a 5-day chart, and I'm going to change what's called the aggregation period. Aggregation period is a fancy term for how big is the candle. If I leave it where it is, it'd be a 1-minute candle on a 5-day chart, or I could choose from the menu. Let's say we wanted 5-day, 5-minute candles. Click OK, and now we have a chart over 5 days with each candle now representing 5 minutes. Well, that's nifty that we have this list of favorites here and that we can go to custom time frames. But what if I want one of those custom time frames in my favorites? And maybe one of the favorites is one that I don't really use very often. Well, here I can actually customize this default list of time frames. And how about we say, with this one, the 5-year weekly, I'm just going to delete that one. Just as an example, we can always put it back if we want to. But let's add a new time frame. Maybe my preference was a 10-year weekly chart. Maybe I just use that more frequently. Let's add that to our list of default time frames. Click Apply, click OK. And the next time I need a weekly chart, I could just come to my favorites. There's my 10-year weekly favorite. And I'm looking at a 10-year time frame now. All right. So, yep, there are some more intermediate functions or capabilities of the charting. Whether you use it or not is up to you. I just wanted to demonstrate that one today. Let's go to the 1-year, 1-day chart again. Now we can also, let me speak to the options traders in the audience for just a moment. All right, options are not for everyone. They carry significant risk, so be aware. Yeah, you'll definitely want to understand options thoroughly, the potential pros and the potential cons before trading. But in any case, let's show a function a little bit more intermediate. It has to do with our chart settings again here, but this one's going to be explicitly for those options traders. Some options traders just like to see specific approaching dates for expirations on their chart. So I'm going to go to the time axis for my chart here, and I'm going to check the box for Show Expiration Friday. For options traders, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. These are those third Friday expiration dates for options. As I click Apply here, now what we see are these red dashed vertical lines that show us where those expirations are. And if we change that right expansion far enough, let's crank this out to maybe 25 days and click Apply, click OK. I can now see the next third Friday expiration for January 17th is going to be right here. And there's also a little heads up that there's an earnings announcement scheduled out there on January 30th. So a little bit more intermediate, not going to have appeal for everyone. I recognize that, but just wanted to show those. And finally, a function on Thinkorswim that a lot of our technical traders who've gotten a little bit deeper into the world of using charts for planning and placing trades, a lot of our traders like to customize the indicators. Maybe the default indicator isn't set for the time frame that they prefer. So for right now, this green line that I added is a 9-day simple moving average. If we come up to our Edit Studies icon again, this should be now a familiar little tool. There's that simple moving average set to 9 days. This is a daily chart. The default is 9 periods of data. Well, for some traders, that might not be enough data. Maybe they want to, and by the way, small data sets tend to change very rapidly, and they result in rapidly changing technical indicators. So maybe our trader prefers to use a larger data set that's less prone to changing rapidly. So let's come over to the right, click on their little gear icon, and change the length of this indicator from just 9 days of data. How about we crank that out to 50 days of data? So I'm going to click OK and click Apply. And what that just did is it slowed down this line, and it's incorporating 50 days worth of data, not a truly long-term trend indication, but longer than just 9 days. And that's a quick way to customize the indicators that one has been adding to a chart. Now, let's add one more indicator there. Let's pop up here. No, I'll save that for later. But we've gone through some basic chart setup. We've gone through somewhat more intermediate chart setup. While we have the time, we have the luxury of time, let's do something, maybe it's a little bit more advanced. For some traders, they do like to get, they have their very particular set of technical indicators that they prefer. And they also like the way that they've set up their style of chart, but they can frequently change. Maybe for one approach to trading, maybe for their dividend investing, they use one set of technical indicators. Maybe for their shorter terms, what we call swing trading, they use a different set of indicators or a different layout for their charts entirely. So they will build and save what we call chart styles and chart study sets. So let's talk about saving chart styles. What am I talking about when I talk about a style? Well, anytime that we have added something through that chart settings feature, or really any of these other features that aren't explicitly studies, that's altering the style of the chart to some extent. So for example, maybe our trader likes to do some shorter term trades, so they use maybe a 3-month chart, and maybe they have a different approach where they use longer term charts. And on those shorter term charts, they have one set of chart characteristics known as style. And on the longer term charts, they have different set of characteristics or a different style of chart. Well, once we set up a style, so the things that we have changed for this style are things like the corporate events. We have the expiration lines that we've added here. We've added the volume down at the bottom, and it is a 1-year chart. All of those things describe basically the style of chart that we're using. Well, maybe the trader wants to save that as a style. Let's come up to style, and we can just save this style. And really, we can name it whatever we want, and whatever is meaningful to that trader. Let's just say this is it's a candle chart with volume. Now, that's just generic name that I just came up with off the top of my head. But any case, give it whatever name we like, and then save that. And let's say that we've gone off to some other stock. Maybe we've changed the time frame. Maybe we've gotten rid of the corporate events. Let's change that. Let's go to our settings here. Let's take off the corporate events. Maybe we don't even show our volume, but we've made all sorts of changes. So we're looking at a very different style of chart. And now the trader is thinking, oh, I want to do that other type of trade. Wish I could get that style of chart back that I had before. Well, now we can come up to style. Let's go to load style. And what did we call it? We called it what did I call that? Oh yeah, candle chart with volume. That's what I called it. So I'll just select that, and here we are. That automatically changed the time frame back to what it was. It puts the volume back on. It puts the corporate events back on. Had we taken those off, yeah, it has preserved all of those characteristics of the style of chart that the trader might have a preference for. And you can see how traders could set up all sorts of different style configurations, bounce back and forth among those using that function. So great feature. Is it going to be used by everybody, or and in particular for someone who's very new to using charts? Maybe not. Maybe they leave that for a little bit later in their career. Now, another thing a trader might do is as they build up a set of studies, let's say our trader has used a combination of studies. Let's add a MACD histogram to our chart. Click apply, click OK. Maybe sometimes they like to use a simple moving average with a MACD histogram and explicitly a 50-period moving average with a MACD histogram. And maybe sometimes they don't need it. Well, they could just save that as a study set. We have 2 studies, 2 technical indicators known as studies. Maybe we want to save that set of studies. Let's save our study set, and maybe we'll call it an SMA with MACD histogram. Now there we go. Just save that. And then if our trader has cleared those studies off, look at some other charts. Maybe they've used a different series of studies and they want to go back to their MACD histogram with their moving average. Instead of having to add those back through the menu, they could just pop up here to our studies, load study set, and there's our SMA with MACD histogram. So this is how a trader can start to take a little bit deeper steps into their setup on thinkorswim charts. Now, the final thing I want to discuss is we've all been doing this on a single chart. And I know my audience well, and I know that a lot of you out there have the setups at home with multiple monitors. Maybe you have a setup where you like to have a single display, but with multiple charts displayed. Let's talk about that. So let's suppose that our trader would like to have a grid of 4 charts shown on the same screen. Well, up here in the upper right of thinkorswim is our grid tool. And boy, you can really get a number of charts on the same screen. I'm just going to use 4 as an example, but you'll notice as I move my arrow around, it changes potential configurations and numbers of charts. Let's just do a 2x2 grid of 4. So I'm going to click there, and now I have 4 interchangeably usable charts. I can, let's say I have the S&P 500 up here. Maybe I'm following Amazon here. Maybe I'm following Microsoft down here, and I think you get the point. So we can see all of those displayed. If I want to get a closer look at any individual one of them, I can click on the little menu, and maximize this cell. Each one of the 4 is considered a cell. So if I maximize one of those, now I have a closer look at it, and the other 4 are still available. I can navigate among those just using these arrows. Let's move over here to Amazon. Click on the arrow, back to the S&P 500, forward to Amazon, forward to Microsoft, and so on. So that's a nifty little feature for those that like to have a grid of charts available. And to get back to that grid display, let's minimize this cell. There we go. Now, finally, all right, that was fun. Let's set this back to just a single chart. But I know that there are some of you out there who like to have multiple charts on multiple screens, on multiple monitors. And boy, that must be a pain to set up. Nope. Actually, we'll just go up here just to the right of the grid. We can click on the menu icon, 3 dots, 3 dashes, and detach a chart. And what that does is it opens up a second chart, identical to the first, but in a new window. So if I click detach, you'll notice, let me just move this around a little bit. This is now a chart that I can move over. I have a monitor off to the right here. I have a monitor off to the left. I could just pull those over and I can use those independently. So as long as they're not, by the way, see these numbers here just to the right of the symbol box. If I unlink that, that means any changes that I make in the one, they're not going to carry over to the other one. So if I were to switch this one to Microsoft, it's not going to change the first chart to Microsoft. So now they're truly independent. If I did want them linked, I could just change this link to the same number that I have here, and they're going to automatically update. When one is updated, the other one updates. Not mapped. Let's get the right symbol in there. There we go. In any case, we can do that with multiple charts. I could detach, move one off to one display, detach, move another one off to the other display, link them however I want them, unlink them however I want them. I could set up individual grids on each chart. So now we're getting a little bit fancier, right? But that's going to suffice, I think, for a beginner's guide to setting up charts on Thinkorswim Desktop. If this is your very first time using the platform, welcome. It's great to have you on board. And I do hope that this presentation was useful. But time for me to let you go. Time for me to let the live audience move on to watch other webcasts that we have on our calendar for today. But as I do let you go, I want to make you aware of other resources that are available and also give you a heads up about significant changes that are underway. So this is the end of 2024. It's my last presentation of the year. And for 2025, as I already mentioned at the outset of this presentation, there are changes. So be aware, and you can find all these changes right here, schwab.com/coaching/webcasts. This is our new calendar. You can just push this forward to January of 2025 and scroll down and find the new layout of webcasts. We still have a bunch of webcasts each day of the trading week, as long as the markets are open, right? But for January, as an example of the changes that are happening, this webcast series is moving from Monday, where it's been housed for a couple of years, and we're moving that now to Wednesdays at 2 o'clock Eastern. So it's the same webcast series, just a different time. Same channel, same presenter even. I also have other webcasts that I'm just picking up for the first time in 2025. So as an example of that, on Thursdays, I'm going to be teaching long verticals and diagonals, delivering that series. So a lot of changes here. Just come here if you have a favorite webcast series or 2 or 5, just come and check on them. Make sure that you know when they are, when they're launching, who's going to be delivering those. And if you have favorite presenters, you can find out what their webcast calendar looks like for 2025. Everybody, another thing to have to be aware of is make sure that if you haven't done it already, you're subscribed to our Trader Talks Schwab Coaching webcast channel on YouTube. You can subscribe just by going right down below the display window right now. Click on the subscribe button. It only takes a second. It doesn't cost anything. But the Trader Talks YouTube channel is the very best place to find our previous webcasts, including this series. And those webcasts, those videos that we've already archived here are going to still be here. So the 2024 videos are not going away. You can find them right here under the playlists, and you can join the live streams right there. Eva, thank you. Villager, hey, thank you for that feedback. You appreciate my organization and preparation. I hope that comes through, that I do try to be organized and prepared every time. Yeah, but make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you're following Kevin and me on X. You can follow Kevin there at Kevin Horner CS. You can follow me on X at Cameron May CS. It's another, doesn't cost anything to follow us, but it's another educational resource where you can connect with your favorite presenters in between the live streams. So make sure you're doing that. But yeah, time has come for me to let you go, everybody. Was there? I don't think so. I didn't catch out of the corner of my eye any survey. There wasn't. Nope. I did see that Kevin, though, was doing a fabulous job of keeping up with the live stream chats. Thanks for doing that, Kevin. Everybody, go enjoy your holidays. I will be back to start the new year. This is, as I mentioned, my last webcast of 2024. So I'll see you in future webcasts in 2025. I'll also look for you on X. I do want to wish everybody fabulous holidays. Have a great rest of your 2024, and I'll see you in 2025. And whether I see you in a webcast in the future or on X, until that moment arrives, I want to wish you the very best of luck. Happy trading. Bye-bye.